We're here at WordCamp US 2025 in the amazing Creator Studio, and I am here with Ben Gabler, the Chief Product Officer and founder of Rocket.net, and Jessica Frick, the General Manager of Rocket.net. And I'm super excited to chat with you both about the big news, the partnership with Hosting.com. So let's just jump right into it.
Let's do it.
Ben, you've described this as not an exit, but an entrance. Can you unpack what you meant by that and how you see this deal shaping Rocket.net's future?
Absolutely. So kind of came up with that one as I was really thinking through what this meant to me and this business and this team and Jess and Ryan and Dave and all of our team. A lot of the times you see these things happen and the founder is gone on the beach, hanging out, quickly gets bored and thinks they made the biggest mistake in the world because now they don't know what to do with themselves. For me, this was an incredible opportunity to not only take what we've built and put it in front of almost 1 million people day one, which we did. You can go on hosting.com today and buy the same exact package you can get on rocket.net, has every single feature. And it's one-to-one. So if we ship a new feature on Rocket, it's immediately available on hosting.com. And the hosting.com team did that integration in 5 days, which I think speaks volumes to how we built this platform. And, for hosting.com, the big interest in rocket.net was not just the platform, but also the people. So, the discussions I had with them was, look, I think hosting.com has this incredible opportunity to just be this powerhouse of a brand and business in this industry. And it feels like 23 years of what I've done in my career leads up to this moment where I can take all of the lessons I've learned, good and bad, and apply them at scale at a business that has the ability to just touch so many people. And I've truly never been so excited in my life. And while I know it may be hard for others to comprehend that, for me, I've sold a business before. I've gone on to a COO role before, but that business was doing its own things. And I realized that I had been running very hard and I just needed a break. And literally 2 weeks later, I'm like, what do I do now? And in this situation, after 5 years of building what's arguably one of the fastest growing companies in our space in history, the growth is continuing. The day we did the announcement was a sign up record at Rocket. We sold a ton of packages on hosting.com, booked a bunch of demos on hosting.com. And, for me, this is just the entrance to what we're able to really do with this platform for the world. And I am so far from done and full of all of this energy that I desperately needed to unlock after 5 years of being a solo entrepreneur that was completely bootstrapped and taking his laptop to dinner and to lunch and just couldn't leave my side, to this role now where I've got an incredible leader to make sure that the Rocket standard only gets better. And, we can take the Rocket DNA and inject it in hosting.com. And then instead of Jess and myself having to worry about CFOs and HR teams, we already have all of that solved. So that saves her 6 months to where she can just hit the ground running. We can keep building bigger, better, and faster.
And Jessica, you stepped into the general manager role right as this partnership was coming together. What excited you most about leading Rocket.net through this transition?
Well, first of all, Ben was completely transparent. I knew well before I joined what I was getting into, and it's exactly why I got into it. But again, Ben and I have been friends for years, and coming to Rocket kind of felt like coming home. What excites me the most about this is the opportunity to scale Rocket, because I really believe in our philosophy of helping people. People first, customer obsession first. And I really believe in the product. I mean, our performance scores bring the boys to the yard, and they're like, you know,
That's fair. To both of you, or maybe this is a Ben question, why hosting.com? What made this the right partner instead of raising more capital or pursuing other strategic options?
So we had a lot of folks come to the table over the last, I would say, 12 months, with money that would have made my kids never have to work a day in their life. And for me, it wasn't about the money. At the end of the day, yes, we all start jobs or careers or businesses to put food on the table and ultimately hit that, as an entrepreneur, that ring that bell of I made it, I did it, I was able to build something that grew and solved real problems for the world. And, when I sat down with hosting.com, we've actually been working on this for about a year. And when we talked a year ago, that it just wasn't the right time. They were in the middle of finishing the A2 acquisition, and that would ultimately become the hosting.com brand. And fast forward to, the last, call it 4 months, working and talking to Seb and Dom and Thomas and team and Panos, it was so beyond obvious that it was almost too easy that it made that much sense. And when we sat down at a table in Jupiter, Florida, and had dinner for the first time in probably a year, it felt like I was at a hosting table in 2006. These are guys and gals that have lived and breathed hosting for decades. And I think that's the one thing that we have in common is we've all messed up. We've all won. They've had exits in the past to GoDaddy. I relaunched all the hosting products at GoDaddy, bought Media Temple when I was at GoDaddy. We've seen a thing or two. And that's what I keep trying to drive home to our customers and the prospects and, the social media channels is, this isn't some, acquisition where, Rocket's no longer a rocket, and there is zero discussion or zero plan as long as I am above ground that Rocket will ever be going away. I think, what a lot of people don't realize is we built a $10 million run rate with 2 developers, right? We now have dozens and the opportunity to add as many as we need. And we can start building bigger, better, and faster with arguably one of the best brands in the world as hosting.com, along with rocket.net, a brand that has made its mark in this industry in just 5 years when everybody thought starting a hosting company would be impossible. And the reason it was possible is I didn't start a hosting company. I built a SaaS platform for WordPress.
From a product and infrastructure standpoint, what gaps were you looking to fill that hosting.com could uniquely support?
So the biggest thing that kept me up at night for the last 5 years was uptime, right? We have customers that in hosting, we laugh because a customer might say, I'm losing thousands of dollars, I'm down, and they're on like a $3 plan. They're like, cool, you should probably be on $1,000 plan. I don't know. But we have customers that legitimately make 7 figures a month in ad revenue, and they have to be online. So, with hosting.com, we get this massive infrastructure team that is able to manage, our platform and ensure that it's always online. And, there's a lot of old school thought process out there that thinks our servers are going to get slow now. We're going to bin pack them to crap. And what a lot of people don't realize is we have such healthy margins that not only do we not, we are probably one of the only companies in the world that doesn't have a set number of hosting accounts that go on a server, set number of websites, right? Set number of containers. It's all the same. We fill capacity based on resource utilization. We definitely still have a ceiling of how many we'll never go beyond for config size purposes and just different reasons and all your eggs in one basket type deal. We have a very good sweet spot on disk size and things like that. But, hosting.com is actually using the same next generation hardware that we are. So all of our new stuff we started deploying with these new AMD EPYC chips with 96 cores, NVMe storage in a RAID 10 setup. They do the same thing. So our service is going to be it's going to be the same, but also get better because, we haven't had that seasoned team that Dom and Thomas lead that have seen this for 20 plus years of the actual server and Linux side of the house. So there's so many optimizations that we can make to become even faster and more resilient. It's just very exciting.
You're now the Chief Product Officer at hosting.com. How do you bring Rocket.net's startup style innovation into a larger corporate framework?
So the interesting thing that was also very exciting to me was, Panos was talking to me last night and there's no real mid-tier management, right? And, we'll see how well that scales for longevity, as we continue to really grow this business. But the reality is they have at hosting.com a very startup-like environment. They move incredibly fast, but it's not a move fast, break stuff. It's intelligently moving fast because number one, a lot of the systems that we leverage have been around for over 20 years. It's a very similar stack. And, the thing that we really bring to the table is the SaaS methodology of API first, React portal, mobile friend, like all these different things. And, we have the best of both worlds. And it sort of creates this culture where it's a fun environment. We just opened a new office. I got videos and pictures of, the new office opening, and you just see all this collaboration and you see a lot of smiles. So for me, at Rocket, we have this team of 25, but our competitors that are similar in size are 3 times that with their headcount. But the reason we're able to run the way that we do is the platform really does a good job at not breaking to where people, people usually contact us for a migration and we don't hear from them again. But on top of that, we've built some incredible tooling that is also going to help the hosting.com staff be more efficient. And we're able to just run a single command to install that on any hosting.com server right now.
And to Jessica, how do you balance keeping Rocket.net's identity strong while also aligning with Hosting.com's broader business goals?
Oh, that's easy. So, Hosting.com wanted to do this partnership with us to keep Rocket independent, to keep Rocket as Rocket. So, I don't actually have to do anything there. What I have to do, and it is honestly one of my life's greatest honors, is take excellent care of Ben's baby. I mean, I have been entrusted with this phenomenal team, and an incredible product. And, as far as keeping Rocket Rocket, that's what we were always intending to do with this. Um, so I don't have to do anything. I just have to rock it, I guess.
Are there specific features or upcoming product launches that you're prioritizing, showing
Oh,
some momentum after the acquisition?
yeah, we have some exciting updates coming for our backups. We have a new UI coming out. And other performance edge related features coming. And then, of course, as Ben starts to really get into his seat over at hosting.com, there's going to be an opportunity for us to blend brands together for a more cohesive, start to finish product platform. And I could not be more excited. When I tell you I wake up super early every morning, ready to rock, I'm not kidding. I am more alive than I have ever been. And it's because of all of this. It's so exciting.
So notice the chief product officer didn't grab the mic
Yeah.
because Jess has such an incredible background. I call it a Swiss Army knife. This is a term that I think cPanel invented back in 2003 or so, 2006 maybe. They had an employee and they didn't know what to call him, so they put Swiss Army knife on his business card. So Jess has a wide variety of skills, one of them being product. And, one of the first questions I asked Jess when we sat down a couple of years ago, I said, when you do this product stuff, like, do you talk to the customers? She says, yeah. And I'm like, you think it's obvious, but it's not. I think for the hosting.com side of it, the way that we've done this integration, any feature like the new UI or the new cloud backups we have coming, it's immediately available for hosting.com because the user experience is the same exact user experience at Rocket. We've embedded the portal one-to-one. So when you click manage on your site at hosting.com, it's rendering the entire rocket.net portal. And what we're going to do is if you buy WordPress in the near future from hosting.com, it will be one way or another the rocket.net platform. So, we have plans to create a line of items that we're kind of internally calling rocket.net Lite. And, for agencies that may be building a new website that doesn't necessarily call it Cloudflare Enterprise right out of the gate. Maybe it's a $3 price point for them, but they still get that Rocket support. They get the Rocket platform, and it allows them to say, cool, I finished my, sandbox over here. Let me go push that onto the managed plan now with a button. And that's kind of the ultimate vision for the WordPress side of the house. For the non-WordPress, the goal is to take this platform that we've built because it is a platform. And let's say we want to sell a Linux hosting package, whether it's cPanel or Enhance or whatever it might be, but that customer wants Laravel. Cool, done. Choose your application, done. And it's still going to leverage that same provisioning API and everything that we've built on Rocket.net.
Rocket.net is known for its incredibly high customer satisfaction. How do you make sure that ethos doesn't get lost in a larger organization?
So one of the things that Jess brought up when she first started was, we have a different chat system and a different ticket system. What's up? I'm like, well, we have a 98% satisfaction rating. When I looked at the Zendesk chat that they provide, it was not optimal for the employee experience. While the visitor experience might look very similar, the agent experience was missing the mark, felt like you're in a ticket. And the reality is, if we start treating chats like tickets, we all know what happens. And, with our tooling, I was like, and just makes perfect sense. Just needed to know the madness behind the reason. So I think number one is getting the correct tooling in place. Just to give a little, behind the scenes of how we work, I used the chat system at hosting.com one time, and I told Panos, I'm like, this has to change. And he said, cool. Why? Told him a couple reasons. I said, only been in there for maybe an hour. I said, but this is what I saw. He goes, yeah, makes sense. He goes, cool. Let's put a plan together. Right. So in a normal corporate world, that would take like 96 forms to fill out and submit to the team and wait months and weeks and this and that. And maybe it's a no, maybe it's a yes. I don't know. But having that ability to just, as long as you let the data do the talking and you bring reason to why we should do this, and you set the measurable results that you need to get, we're going to do it. So I think first and foremost is getting the right tooling in place. And then two, really helping spread that Rocket DNA into the culture at hosting.com. It is a great culture today, but we have a much different mentality when it comes to support. For example, we don't care if a live chat takes 3 hours. We're going to look and see, hey, what's going on? Is the agent okay? And 99% of the time they are. It's just a very challenging issue, but we want to solve it. So we take our time and we put a lot of effort in. So I think really helping bleed that into the organization is going to go a very long way. But third, and most importantly, is continuing to do everything with a customer first mentality. If we're going to change this, what does it do to the customer? If Jess puts PTO in for a month, what does that do to the customer, right? Everything that we do involves the customer in the conversation. So as we continue to grow and build and do everything that we want to do, we will always put the customer first and make sure that they were always going to win in the end result.
I want to go back to what you said about live chats versus tickets. How do you ensure that the customer always has a positive experience with live chats? They're not waiting for 30 minutes to speak to a rep, or they're waiting for it to be escalated because maybe that rep isn't sure what the right response is.
So that's where, 20 plus years of customer service comes in handy. You have to have people that are there to support that frontline team, right? And with the right KPIs and dashboards, which we don't have today at Rocket, but hosting.com does have, I will have a TV in my office that has the cues on it at all times, right? And it doesn't matter if it's a year from now, 2 years from now, 5 years from now. It's what I do at Rocket, and it's what I will do. One of my first questions to Seb was, is it okay if I, get into chat and like poke around? And he goes, Ben, you can pretty much do whatever you want. And I said, cool, just making sure, right? Because that's a huge thing for me, is I have to understand not only how the customers are being supported, but how they're using the products too.
Looking 5 years out, what's the boldest version of Rocket.net plus hosting.com you vision to build?
So we are on a mission to build the first true SaaS platform in this industry for websites, right? So like today you can go to Google or Amazon and deploy a compute instance. You can't really do that with a website anywhere. Rocket, yes, you can go deploy a WordPress website. It's very close, but there's a whole other world out there that we can start to, work with when VPS. Maybe it's like self-managed VPS or managed VPS, enterprise servers, all of these different things that we can kind of create this seamless experience for a customer to log in to, hosting.com and deploy and do what they need to do. And if they're super hyper focused on WordPress, and they can log into rocket.net as they have for the last 5 years and continue to deploy their WordPress projects and benefit from all of the feature development. But I think the boldest outcome is having that true SaaS platform for websites.
And I think my boldest outcome is a 100% customer satisfaction rate.
That's very ambitious.
Or at least 99.9999999.
Yeah, well, you guys are pretty close with I recently did a customer service comparison, blind shopping, and Rocket.net did very well. So you've certainly earned my respect there.
Thank you. And thanks for doing that. It was so validating.
Absolutely. Yeah. I was telling Jessica yesterday that I've heard of Rocket.net before, but I've never tried it because the brand just wasn't plastered everywhere. And sometimes as a consumer, you fall for what are the names that you always see out there? Oh, let me go try them. So I didn't really know what to think of Rocket.net. I had heard of it, but I'm like, I don't know, is it good? Is it bad? I don't know. So after rigorously testing the customer service, I am very much a fan of what you both are doing.
Thank you so much. And as Jess said, thank you very much for taking the time and including us. It's an honor to be included and do so well in an industry surrounded by folks that have been doing this for so long. And here we are, this 5-year-old barely company, and just kind of leading the way.
Yeah, this is a great segue to my next question, which is looking back, what are you most proud of with Rocket.net so far?
I think the fact that we have not only changed the experience for so many talented individuals like Natasha from Natasha's Kitchen or Aaron from wellplated.com, and all of these different massive, like mybirdbuddy.com, for the first time ever, they were able to run a Black Friday sale and have zero hiccups and sell millions of dollars of product, which is incredible. So that customer success is what I'm definitely most proud of. But on top of that, it made me extremely proud to see a group like Seb and team that saw the true value in not just the dollars and cents in the platform, but the people. So I'm extremely proud of the team that we've been able to build over the last 5 years, and just how my passion for customer success has spread like wildfire through the team. It's a super big thing for me.
Hmm. And Jessica, what does success look like for you personally in your first year as general manager?
Somebody asked me this the other day, what kind of mark do you want to leave? Because, as a new GM, you're coming and you want to make your mark. And what really gets me up in the morning is helping people. I want people to feel more enabled and empowered to do what makes them happy, what makes them successful. And so, my big, hairy, audacious goal for my first year is to eliminate obstacles to allow everyone to do more of what they do.
And to both of you, if you had one message to reassure existing Rocket.net and hosting.com customers who might be a little bit uncertain about the acquisition, what would it be?
So, kind of what I've said in social media is, I'm a substantial shareholder in this, right? So this wasn't a scenario where here's a big check, I'm gonna go live in the Bahamas forever. Um, Jez is a shareholder, right? Chad, our team, like our entire team, like we're all in this together, and I think that the big difference here is, this was very much about our people, right? And what our capabilities are. We have a lot of very unique talents and extremely talented people that are that unicorn or Swiss Army knife type roles. And, we really bring a lot to the table, as does hosting.com. So again, I go back to the fact that we've been able to build what we've built in the last 5 years with 2 developers, and now we are being empowered with as many developers as we need, and we're going to be able to just move faster than ever. And with our SaaS style testing and integration testing and everything that we do, we already know that we're not going to ship something that's going to break, but we're able to just put more hands on this product. And I just, yeah.
And if I can add, I've had a couple people say, "So you're replacing Ben." And I think that that's a fair point for some people too, because Ben is so well known and respected in the industry, and a lot of people have chosen Rocket because they trust Ben to take care of their sites. And my answer to them is no, no one can replace Ben. It would take us about 26 people, first of all, if we were to try. But I think of myself more as a force multiplier so that Ben can do more of what Ben does. And we're going to just keep Rocket going in that upward trajectory. Um, I think that Ben has done an incredible job of building a product and a company that is going to rise to the occasion. And as Ben said, he could have cashed out. He didn't. And that's exactly why I wanted to be a part of this, because I know that the best is yet to come.
And then just touch on that too. I'm not going anywhere, right? Like, I'm in this chief product officer role, and I have a hosting.com shirt on and a rocket.net hat. And, Jess reports to me and we will work together every single day. And I made a promise to a lot of all of our customers. I made a promise, and I've made several in-person promises. Like when we took a lot of our food bloggers out to an amazing dinner in Las Vegas, I said, hey, one day, if I am not the guy, I'm your guy, right? They have my cell phone number. They have my email. My email's not going anywhere. I am still a part of rocket.net. And the difference is I'm just going to be enabled to get back into what I was able to do before all this massive growth and focus on creating things that do not exist. And that is exactly what I'm going to do. I was suffering from major burnout. I don't talk about it a lot because I don't want to scare our customers. But 5 years of 7 days a week, 12 to 14 hours a day, sleepless nights, blood, sweat, tears, missing my kid reading me books, right? Because I have to run to a server alert on Slack. It's a scenario now where I'm able to I stepped back and I literally took 1 day off, and I came back like the old Ben again. And the team was like, Ben's back. He's back. He's got that spark again. And burnout's very real. I was talking to another founder today about it, and he was in a very similar situation. And I think a lot of people, our customers, the community, I think a lot of people may not understand exactly what goes into making Rocket as successful as it is and given it such a good experience as it has been. And it's been a massive sacrifice that has probably taken years off of my life with stress. And now I am just so energized, and I've never been this excited about anything in my career. And I mean that with my whole heart and soul. Like, this is not a smoke and mirrors show. Like, this is the real deal. Anybody that doesn't believe me makes me want to do it that much more. And I am going to change the world. I promise you.
You achieved something incredible going into an industry that was already very saturated with a vision, starting something that, I mean, it's just beyond incredible to see what you've built. What advice would you have to entrepreneurs who are maybe looking at a saturated industry like that? Maybe it's in WordPress, maybe it's not, but they're feeling discouraged. Is there even a point in me trying in an industry like that?
Dare to be different. When I looked at our competitive landscape, when I was building this company in 2020, arguably one of the worst times in the world to start a company, but one of the best times to start a digital company. Everybody was saying the same thing: 300% faster Google Cloud. You go to another competitor, 300% faster Google Cloud. You look at their features page, it's the same story with damn near the same content and copy. And I was like, that makes no sense. Everybody's not, it's a marketing game. I'm like, I don't have the money to compete with them. I need to be different, right? And I had this idea, that came from my former role as a chief product officer of an edge services company. I realized that we bought a brand called Max CDN, very popular in the WordPress space, and we had like a 90% churn rate because people could not figure out how to use a CDN. And I took the idea to the board. I'm like, hey, we could build this product, and it's literally a WordPress onboarding wizard that just configures it all and they're done. They're like, yeah, that's cute. We're going to go after Disney. I'm like, funny enough, Rocket.net hosts some Disney properties. But I said, cool, I'm out. And I had that idea as a starting foundation for Rocket. And I looked around and nobody was talking about CDN. Nobody was talking about WAF. Nobody was talking about Cloudflare Enterprise. So I was able to just build something that didn't exist. And it was a struggle, right? Like, you go live and you're like, where's the signups? They're not there. Nobody knows you exist. Oh, like you had said earlier, right? Like, we're not plastered everywhere. We don't have the money for it. So for us, we found a way, and you always start with family and friends. We hosted some publicly traded companies because I had some friends that worked there. And then, we kind of put our money where our mouth is, and, did some emails to some of the honest review sites, right? And we said, hey, maybe it's bad, maybe it's good. We had WP Beginner do our very first one. Syed's a great friend of mine, and his team thought we were cheating somehow. The speed was so incredibly fast. Nobody had ever seen anything like that. So, you have to find ways to, just start small. Don't boil the ocean, and find a way to work your way into where 5 years later, looking back, I don't know that there's not a managed WordPress conversation we aren't coming up in. Chat GPT, haven't used it personally, but from what I understand, we're showing up as number one in a lot of the searches for managed WordPress hosting. And that just comes from the raw customer feedback about Rocket.net.
Was there ever a moment in your journey, you touched earlier on burnout, where you kind of weren't sure how to overcome something. You wondered, is this over? And how did you push past that, if so?
Absolutely. Several moments, whether it was a potential outage or a bad update that went out or lack of signups. You know, at the end of the day, as a solo founder in the very beginning, I mean, you are the business. The business is only as good as you are. There is, nights where I slept next to my laptop in case a chat came in and I had to take it, you just have to keep pushing, right? Because there's all those pictures out there where it's like somebody's this close when they're digging and they almost find the gold, but then they give up, right? So you just, it's very difficult because there's also times where, hey, maybe you've put X amount of money in and it's just not working. And if you keep going, you're going to lose your house. Probably have to figure something else out, right? But if you have the ability to just keep grinding and keep pushing and iterating and changing what you need to change in order to finally get to that, right? Like maybe you needed a bigger shovel to get to that gold, right? Like you just have to be creative and think outside the box and push yourself, to the max. I mean, everybody, I wouldn't be surprised if people will see me in it, on on a boat or something, like, must be nice. It's like, oh, you don't know what I sacrificed to be here,
Yeah.
and it truly is a sacrifice. And then the older we get, we have families. It's very difficult, right? When I started my first hosting company, I was living in my parents' house. Like, it's super easy. Like, I don't have bills. So who cares how long it takes? I'm just having fun. But it's very different when you have a wife and a 6-year-old.
I'm really curious about your philosophy around AI. From what I understand, you're not using AI for customer service. I don't know if you use it for anything at Rocket.net. You don't use ChatGPT. That's curious to me. So, how do you feel about AI? Where do you think it's going? Do you see an opportunity to implement it ever in hosting.com and Rocket.net?
So I think we've been so busy talking about robots and computers lately. We've lost touch with the actual human aspect of things, and I think that's where Rocket.net and Hosting.com will continue to really shine. Is there's a lot of human touch here. I do not want a world where you have to talk to AI and click 50 things to get to a human being. However, I do see an opportunity for AI to potentially look at your WordPress install and find some slowdowns or find some, the biggest thing that we see, especially with WooCommerce, is the lack of indices on a database. So there's queries that work perfectly fine with 4 customers and 2 orders, but as you continue to scale, those queries start to slow down. So our team will literally go in and create indexes for the customers in their databases for them. That's part of what we do as a managed service provider. And I think AI is going to be able to really help with that. Like, hey, go analyze my queries and tell me what we can do. What indexes can we create? Today, we use Sorcery AI on all of our pull requests, and AI is able to challenge our developers. And hey, you could do it this way, or you don't need this, or this, that, and the other. And it's that's how we use AI. And I think there's a lot of very powerful things to come when it comes to what AI can help challenge you on, but I don't really foresee a world where it just replaces the humans. I think, I think it's a tool that is definitely necessary, but I don't think it's the tool for everything, especially customer service.
Definitely agree with you there. That was a common theme in our video that we discovered was AI chatbots do not help the customer. They only help the company save money.
They only help the customer get more frustrated.
For sure.
When I go on chat and it's like, I have to answer, I was on Allstate's chat because unfortunately somebody backed into my car. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, human, and like I could not get somebody. I'm like, I'm literally about to throw my laptop right now.
Yeah.
Like I never, and because I went through that experience, I will make sure my customers never go through that experience.
Yeah, I was in a circle with United's chat the other day. I said it was an issue. I'm like, AI is not going to be able to comprehend this. I'm like, agent, oh, tell me what you need first. Agent, oh, I promise I can help. Tell me what you need first. And then I would tell it, and it would respond with some
Incorrect.
unhelpful
Yeah.
answer. And then I would say, agent, oh, well, tell me what you need first. Like this circle, and it was just so difficult to get through to a human. So I'm glad that you never want to see that for Rocket.net or Hosting.com because that just I think it leads to higher churn rates.
Absolutely.
I'm not in the industry, so I don't have any hard data to back that. But just thinking of it as a consumer, it's like, why would you not want to have that human connection as a host?
Right. And at the same time, why not use AI to look at our internal wiki and help train our agents?
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah. It's so important. I hope more companies realize this and don't lose sight of that human connection.
I agree. As much as I'd like to sit here and say I hope they don't, so we win. We need a healthy ecosystem for this industry, and I love seeing people win on your customer service experiment, right? Like, we don't have to be first every time. We understand that, but as long as we did our best, and we go and Jess looks at that and says, well, what was the determining factor there? Gives us something to work for.
Absolutely. Well, Ben and Jessica, thank you so much for taking the time to chat. This has been a lot of fun. And come join in at WordCamp US next year. It's going to be awesome.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Christian.
Thanks.